Hi, hello, welcome and welcome. நான் தான் உங்க ஆதித்யா பேசுகிறேன். Greetings everybody, this is Aditya. Today is 20th of May and the time is 11:20. In a few hours from now, me and my cousin, the one holding the camera right now, we are going to go to Goa, and the flight is at 4:50 a.m. It is early morning, and we are going to be there in Goa for 1 week, and hopefully we'll get to see all the local tourist places, and hopefully there's no rain at this time of the year. So that being said, let's see how the trip goes. We rested for a bit, and then by 3:30 p.m. we first went to Chapora River on the way to Chapora Fort and Bagatar Beach. Chapora Fort rises high above the Chapora River. Before the Portuguese arrived in Goa in 1510, this location was the site of another fort. The fort changed hands several times after Portuguese acquired Bardes. Trying to end the Portuguese rule in Goa, Prince Akbar joined his father's enemies, the Marathas, in 1683 and made this place his base camp. The present fort was built in 1717, replacing the older fortifications. The fort sits on a prominent position which commands views in all directions. It also has steep slopes on all sides. Inside the fort, the church, once dedicated to Saint Anthony, has disappeared, and inside only a few signs exist of the barracks and housing that once filled this vast area. It is a pleasant place to wander that offers fantastic views north across the Chapora River, south over Bagatar, and also far out to the Arabian Sea in the west. Then we each went for jet skiing, which lasted for about 1 minute each. And that was all the places we covered on 21st. The first place we decided to go was the Goa Science Center, for which we had to take a ferry to cross the island. We then went to St. Francis Xavier Church, a 25-minute drive from Goa Science Center. Basilica of Bom Jesus, also known as St. Francis Xavier Church, is located in Old Goa, which was the capital of Goa in the early days of Portuguese rules. This church holds the mortal remains of St. Francis Xavier. Construction work on the church began in 1594 and was consecrated in May 1605. This World Heritage Monument has emerged as a landmark in the history of Christianity. This is one of the oldest churches in Goa and in India. The floor is of marble inlaid with precious stones. Apart from the elaborate gilded altars, the interior of the church is simple. The church also holds paintings of scenes taken from the life of St. Francis Xavier. And then, after a 20-minute drive, we reached Diaz Beach. We then went to Miramar Beach after a 10-minute drive from Diaz Beach. And that was a wrap up on day 2. The first place we decided to go was Dr. Salim Ali Bird Sanctuary. Salim Ali Bird Sanctuary is a mangrove habitat which is declared as the bird sanctuary. This sanctuary is named after Dr. Salim Ali, the Indian ornithologist. The sanctuary has a paved walk that runs between mangroves of different species. The size of the sanctuary is 440 acres. The area is covered by low mangrove forest. Even though we couldn't spot different species of birds, the 1 kilometer walk through the mangrove forest was a blessed one. Our next stop was Aguada Fort. Fort Aguada and its lighthouse is a well-preserved 17th century Portuguese fort standing in Goa overlooking the Arabian Sea. This fort was constructed in 1612 to guard against the Dutch and the Marathas. It was a reference point for the vessels coming from Europe at that time. The old Portuguese fort stands on the beach south of Candolim at the shore of the Mondovi River. It was initially tasked with defense of shipping. A freshwater spring within the fort provided water supply to the ships that used to stop by. This is how the fort got its name, Aguada meaning water. Crews of passing ships would often visit to replenish their freshwater stores. On the fort stands a 4-story Portuguese lighthouse erected in 1864 and the oldest of its kind in Asia. Built in 1612, it was once the grandstand of 79 cannons. This fort is divided in 2 segments. The upper part acted as fort and watering station, while the lower part served as a safe berth for Portuguese ships. Fort Aguada was the most prized and crucial fort of Portuguese. This fort is so large that it envelops the entire peninsula at the southwestern tip of Bardes. Built on the mouth of River Mondovi, it was strategically located and was the chief defense of Portuguese against the Dutch and Marathas. Then we were headed to Coco Beach, a 20-minute drive from Aguada Fort. And then we were headed to Kalangut Beach. Then we both went for parasailing, which lasted for about 2 minutes each. And that was all the places we covered on 23rd. We rested the next day, and on 25th we decided to go to Anjuna beach. We then went to a sunset point, which was just a 5-minute drive from Anjuna beach. As it was getting late, we didn't stay to see the sunset. The next day, we went to Korzim Fort, a protected site. Korzim Fort was a military fortress for the defense of Portuguese. It is smaller than the other forts in Goa, but gives a good view of the surrounding river and land. The original occupiers of this fort were the Desais of Sankhali, but it was traded into Maratha hand later. This fort came into the control of the Portuguese and was rebuilt by them to boost up defenses. This fort also has an interesting incident in which an ambitious Portuguese woman, determined to see the man's world, dressed like a man and traveled the world. She landed up at Korzim as a soldier but was later captured. In the evening, we went to Maldi, Goa. The 1-week trip came to an end. Thanks a lot for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it.